The Supreme Court has imposed a construction ban in 4 states, which means no more construction because these state governments weren't able to come up with a proper waste disposal plan. What happens to the labor, the cement, the steel, the people who drive the cement and steel, all of the people who work in construction, which is in fact our largest employer after agriculture? They all will lose pay for the next 1 month because our state governments were not able to do their jobs. Find out how this will impact you.
The Supreme Court has banned construction in 3 states and 1 union territory: Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Chandigarh. The top court's order comes after these states failed to furnish an efficient solid waste management plan. While the Supreme Court banned construction in 3 states, including the state of Maharashtra, because there was no solid waste management plan in place, builders we've been talking to at least say that there was initial confusion and panic on ground. Reacting to the order, the Maharashtra Chief Minister issued a press release saying the state government has put in place processes to manage solid waste and that the government would bring it to the notice of the top court at the earliest. Meanwhile, Mirror Now did a ground check. We found out that in Maharashtra, builders have not stopped construction yet. The builders say they haven't communicated anything to their workers about the ban just yet and are waiting for the government to submit the affidavit in the Supreme Court.
The fact is that the Maharashtra government has a policy in place. Only thing that the affidavit is not filed before the Supreme Court.
Once the construction ban is in place, this will have a direct impact on home buyers, ongoing construction and redevelopment projects. Mirror Now asks, why have the states failed to provide a waste management plan? Why should daily wage laborers, home buyers and builders pay the price for the state's inefficiency? Why isn't our tax money put to better use?
For the construction industry, and not just houses, the construction industry that's in redevelopment, the construction industry that's building roads, building bridges, building offices for the government, building offices for private sector, is the second largest employer in the country and is also supporting several other industries like cement and steel and those people who work in those factories, people who make other forms of supply that are used in construction, things like tiles, taps, lights. They're all going to suffer tremendously, not to mention what will happen to those people who have already paid for homes that are now going to get delayed even further. Why has all of this happened? It's happened because the Supreme Court has put a temporary ban of construction on 4 states. Now, if you're wondering why would the Supreme Court do such a thing, this is what the background is. You would remember last year the Deonar dump yard caught fire. And it burned for several days and covered the city of Mumbai in smoke and smog. That case was taken to the courts. The court demanded that the government come up with a proper plan to solve the waste disposal problem in Mumbai. There was no plan that was submitted, and the High Court then placed a ban on construction. Developers then went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court lifted that ban and asked again for the plan that the governments have made for waste disposal. No such plan had been submitted. As a result, the Supreme Court has now banned construction. How could we have let this happen? Why do we have governments that simply cannot do their jobs? And in response to all of this, the press release that has been put out by the government of Maharashtra at least says, we have a plan, however, due to technical difficulties, this information was not provided to the Supreme Court. Were your computers not working? You couldn't write out an affidavit? What were the technical difficulties that are referred to in this particular press release? And where is the sense of accountability in our governments? Joining me on the show to answer those questions, Krishnan is an environmentalist. Nishant Katneshwarkar is the Chief Standing Counsel for the state of Maharashtra. Gaurav Bansal is a lawyer at the NGT. Venkat Rao is a legal expert. Shaina NC is with the BJP. Debbie Goenka is also an environmentalist, and Rohit Gera, Managing Director of Gera Developers. I welcome all of you to this conversation. Thank you for joining us. Shaina NC, Maharashtra government not able to put its case forward in Supreme Court? What's wrong?
Well, Faye, this is not just Maharashtra. Please highlight that it's Madhya Pradesh and Uttarakhand as well, and some parts of Chandigarh as well. Now, I think that we all realize that in a city like Mumbai, or for that matter, a state like Maharashtra, the kind of construction we have, of course, you need to have solid waste management teams in place, systems in place, which we do have, and there is a legislation to suggest so. However, I think that where the kind of wrongdoing, if you would want to call it, or the shortcoming, is the way we represented ourselves with the honorable courts, and the Chief Minister has had the courage of conviction to say that yes, we should have represented better, and we choose to do so. And in the days to come, we request the Supreme Court to lift this ban on construction sites, because we know that you cannot have a state come to a standstill, or for that matter, even for the industry that is thriving on huge monies, huge expectations. And I think that the Supreme Court finding is for 3 states. So let's not just make this into a Maharashtra versus all debate.
Okay. So, China NC, then you would consider the representation or the ability to argue of Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Chandigarh on the same levels as Maharashtra. So let's also assume then that the taxes collected from the cities of Mumbai and Pune, the number of people who work here, the number of work that gets done, the number of the actual budgets that are allowed to governments of this state, are they similar between Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra? Shall we treat them all on par?
Well, you obviously have the answer in your question. You have your answer on the question, but the Maharashtra state government has clearly said that we will go to the Supreme Court and highlight the measures that have been taken and the legislations which are in place, which obviously certain kind of implementation and a warning is a must, because only then can we coexist with this kind of rampant development. We do understand that infrastructure is necessary for the state, and this kind of a ban only stalls the state. The solid waste management policy is in place, and the construction sites which are, as we speak, in continual where they have to stop, the state will appeal to the Supreme Court and say, please lift this ban, because it is in the interest of all.
We also have Nishant Katneshwarkar, who's standing counsel for the state of Maharashtra, joining us out of Delhi. Nishantji, what happened in Supreme Court? Were we not able to put... Okay, we don't have him yet. We'll try and get him back in a little while. So, Shaina, if we do have a plan and we weren't able to present it, why weren't we able to present it? Why weren't we able to, present this plan that you say the state already has before the Supreme Court?
Well, you're better off asking the legal experts and the lawyer on behalf of the Maharashtra state government to answer the technicalities of it. I just know that the official statement of the Chief Minister is that we are requesting the Supreme Court to lift this ban, because in a state like Maharashtra, you do have a policy in place. We need to implement it. Yes, we agree, but it cannot be put at par with a Madhya Pradesh or a Uttarakhand, which probably do not have a policy in place.
I want to bring in the rest of my panel at this point. Venkat Rao is a legal expert for real estate. Venkat Rao, what sort of an impact will this have? Not just, the thing is that a lot of the audience will assume that the big bad developer will actually suffer, but everybody else is going to be okay. We've discovered that's not actually true. There are a lot of people who are going to suffer because of this ban. Could you help us understand who these people are, please?
Well, yes, absolutely. Let's understand. Construction activity is stopped. It's not a specific ban on a simple building of flats or anything like that. It is on your bridges being constructed, your infrastructure that is getting developed. Everything will get, for a moment, go into a limbo. It'll be stopped. A. B is that you see the large, as you just said in the beginning, the large number of people and the daily wage workers that are associated, they would be virtually out of job for a month. or maybe a little more. Now, let's look at this. I mean, while we were going through the construction ban, that the policy was not in place and therefore it has happened. Now, policies, stage one of the rules. Now, 2016, the rules came out, and then there was a plan of action with a timeline that, you know, there should be a policy should be in place. Sites for processing of the solid waste management should be, you know, identified within 18 months, and then the processing and the sites should be commissioned within 18 months. So, no, we were not able to meet up the 12-month target. What would happen of 18 months, which was already, you know, well past? So it's like, you know, it is an action which has been taken. Yes, very probably it would, you may call it very harsh, but then, you know, to wake them out and probably, you know, wake them up and move them out of their slumber, I think this was needed. But then, yes, large scale impact is there. Even for the home buyers, if you talk of, it's going to be delays. If you talk of those wage earners, they're going to be out of, you know, it's like, you know, you just can't, I mean, assume a site to be, you know, mopped up to begin, it takes quite a time. And it's not that you stop and you start off tomorrow, next day. It doesn't happen that way. So construction activity, it will have big impact across, you know, the board.
Gaurav Bansal, who's a lawyer with the NGT. Gaurav Bansal, a lot of people might assume that this is too harsh, but this was not a knee-jerk reaction. The Supreme Court asked over and over again. The High Court asked over and over again. But it does seem like state governments were just not interested in coming up with a plan. In fact, the wordings of the order, which I will read out, were very, very harsh towards the state governments. Gaurav Bansal.
See, we are in 21st century, and what we are fighting for having a plan for the solid waste management. Earlier to 2016, there was a plan, municipal solid waste management and handling rules. Since 2000 to 2016, we have municipal solid waste management and handling rules. After 2016, there was a updated version, and it is known as right now the solid waste management rules. So one can't say that we don't have the policy or the plan for the solid waste management before 2016. Before 2016, there was a plan. The purpose or the red tape attitude which is going on or which is prevailing in the governance, in the government. Now the question is this, that the issue is the governance versus management. They want to govern, but they are failing in management. They are failing in making it practical, and they are failing in making it right on the as far as this issue is concerned, as far as the solid waste management is concerned. So this is a welcome move. The Supreme Court petition, which where the Supreme Court has issued the order, it was of 2015. Time and again, Supreme Court requested the state governments to please file their reports, status reports, etc., etc. When the court realized that there are some respondents, like meaning thereby that the states as well as the union territories, who are not taking this issue, the issue of the solid waste management properly and seriously. This is the last resort available to a court. And this is a welcome move, because in our priority in the government agenda, though there are a lot of halla gulla for the Swachhata Abhiyan.
Right, okay.
But when it comes to on paper, it's okay.
In fact, let me just read this out. And we have Nishant Katneshwarkar with us right now, who is the Chief Standing Counsel for the state of Maharashtra. The attitude, this is what the Supreme Court says in the order, the attitude of states and union territories in not framing a policy even after 2 years is pathetic, to say the least. Nishant, why is the attitude of states and union territories pathetic? Why weren't the states able to present a more convincing case to the Supreme Court?
I would like to make something clear about this order. See, this order states that further constructions in the states / union territories are stayed until the policy is framed. I must make a mention that the state of Maharashtra has framed a solid waste management policy On 29th of April 2017, and thereafter certain guidelines have also been issued by the state of Maharashtra. So I must make it clear that first of all, this order is not applicable for the state of Maharashtra. So much of confusion is there that the entire construction work is being stayed. This is not so. The Maharashtra's policy has been in place. Only thing is that it could not be produced before the court.
Why couldn't
That's
it
why
be
I'm
produced
making
before
it
the court?
clear that construction should go on.
Why couldn't it be placed
Sorry,
before the
I'm
court?
not able to hear you.
Why couldn't it be placed before the court?
See, I can't say about, yes, rightly so. I can't say about the procedural delays or the bureaucratic delay. But see, I am the person who is representing the state of Maharashtra in the Supreme Court. On the very day, I was not having the policy with me because of some delay. But now I have the policy in my hand. The Supreme Court, the state of Maharashtra will be producing its affidavit along with the policy on tomorrow. That is the next working day, and everything will be clear. Only thing is that there is no stay to the construction of any kind in the state of Maharashtra, and it should go on.
Why is that? Why should it go on? If the Supreme Court has said that there will be no construction, on what basis are you telling us that it should go on?
See, that's why I rightly see my duty is to place everything before all the people. That's why I am reiterating the contents of the order. They are further constructions in the states / union territories are stayed until the policy is framed. The policy has been framed in the year 2017. That's why this part is not applicable so far as state of Maharashtra is concerned.
Shaina NC, so apparently on the day of the hearing, the Maharashtra government was not able to produce its own policy before the Supreme Court and hand it to the lawyer in charge. So printer was not working in Mantralaya. What was wrong?
Faye, let's not be sarcastic about this. You have the lawyer who explained in totality that in 2017 the policy was framed. Yes, there could have been a bureaucratic question when it came to presenting it in the Supreme Court. But I'm sure that the Maharashtra state government didn't expect the Supreme Court to also say that a stay on construction as of immediately. That apart, I'm glad to hear this clarification which says that Maharashtra government is not applicable when it comes to Madhya Pradesh, Chandigarh and Uttarakhand. Probably the policy is not in place, so it's a different story. But having said that, the Chief Minister and has already requested the Supreme Court to lift this ban, suggesting that it is wrong for a state which has a policy in place to be clubbed with the others. So I think it's a question of just this basic clarification with the Supreme Court, and I'm sure that this ban on construction will be lifted at the earliest.
Well, ban on construction will be lifted at the earliest, and let's now focus on the people who actually get impacted. Rohit Gera, Managing Director of Gera Developers, this has caused a considerable amount of confusion in the construction sector. It could have been now, from what we understand, easily avoided if the Maharashtra government had done its job. What impact has it had so far, and would it have been better for this to have been avoided entirely?
I think it's extremely unfortunate that the Supreme Court has had to resort to this, express its anguish in this in such an aggressive manner, and I think that's clearly evident from the words used in the order as well. Right from the beginning, I think all of us from the developer side were pretty clear with this order. We are also aware that even at a local body level, the state does have policies in place. I don't think ever in the past have we seen the Chief Minister come out so rapidly after an order of the Supreme Court, issue a clarification, and he's kind of taken it on the chin to say, look, we made a mistake. We have a policy in place. There was a procedural mess up. These things do happen. But as far as the industry is concerned, I can certainly say that had this been banned, if this does have to be enforced, it will cause tremendous losses. It will actually virtually cause the economy to cease functioning, literally. But fortunately, I think it's been clarified, and there isn't really any such concern. I was on your show a couple of days ago as well, and I said that there's no need to panic. I'm pretty sure this will be sorted out pretty soon.
A couple of people on the phone line. Dave Reddy on the phone line from Ooty. Dave, go ahead, please. Prashant on the phone line from Mumbai. Prashant?
Hello.
Yes, Prashant, go ahead.
Ma'am, nobody is talking about the small-time entrepreneurs because they are all suffering because of the ban now. It is only because of the state government and nobody is taking care of the entrepreneurs. First, there was a DP problem was there for 2 years, and then there were 2 years ban for the from the High Court or Supreme Court has put a ban. So what has happened now? Again, it is going to be there. We have invested so much money, and we are small-time developers. We are suffering again and again out of this. Would you mind asking them what about the small-time entrepreneurs? What is happening to them?
Absolutely. Shaina NC, do you want to take that question, please?
Well, I would only want to say, see, our Chief Minister has had the courage of conviction to immediately come out and say that this is wrong. This may have been a lapse at our end, but we were not expecting the Supreme Court to come up and say that, ban construction sites from going ahead. So I think that you have to give it to us that sometimes, even if there is a slip, if you'd like to call that so, there can be correctification through the honorable courts, and I'm sure that we will not be in a predicament to have anybody suffer, whether it's the consumer or whether it's the laborer or it is the person who actually holds the maximum stake at the site. So I would only want to request on behalf of the government that please believe us that we are a very accountable, transparent systems that have been set during the tenure of Devendra Fadnavis, and we continue to walk that talk, and I don't think there will ever be this kind of a situation in the days to come.
Krishna is an environmentalist joining us from Noida. Krishna, what is your reaction to the fact, to the observations made by the court in this particular case?
Firstly, thank you for giving me a chance. My name is Krishan Mitru. As has been said by our friends here, the legislation has been in place. Why it has not been placed to the Supreme Court? You have asked several times. The answer has not been forthcoming. It is really surprising. Let me say that Supreme Court would not issue a ban order just on the beginning of it. They must have given sufficient warning, must have demanded it sufficient number of times before they placed an order, because it's a very, very serious order. The plans have, howsoever, not been presented. To say that it was prepared as far back as in April 17 is of no consequence. It should have been at least placed on the public domain. This is an issue which needs to be placed on public domain. Here, without prejudice, I will say that please do not go into the legal twists of the issues. Face the facts. The fact is that all our landfill sites in all the major metro cities are full. The government does not know where to dispose of the solid waste. That is the reason which has arisen now, that we need to have a proper policy for waste disposal, especially the solid waste disposal. Now, there is a solution to it. My opinion in that is that this solid waste at any cost should be recirculated at site. How do you recirculate? You have to have crushers at site itself, mix it up with cement and reuse it for your construction purposes. There should be hardly any solid waste which should be going out to the landfill sites, because landfill sites are full of municipal waste, including hospital infectious and non-infectious wastes. We need to look after those wastes, treat them, use them whichever way, making energy, etc., whatever we have to. But solid waste, which is generated out of construction jobs, should be recirculated at site itself. If at all, you can make bricks out of them and use them. you can make prefabricated boards out of them.
No, but
and
I
use them
just
at
want to
the
point
same
out.
site itself.
Right. I just want to point out that the confusion that has been caused by all of this, and the fact that we now have Nishantji who tells us from the government of Maharashtra that there is no need to stop construction, that construction can continue. What about the smaller businessmen? What about the small scale industries that depend on this sector? Why was there so much confusion created?
The confusion, to my mind, was created only because of non-compliance of instructions by the government at various stages. We have seen time and again that there is absolute complacence on part of the implementing authorities, be it the municipal authorities, be it the actual working class of people, be it whosoever at the root level, at the ground level.
Right.
It is only a
yes,
state of
yes. So my question is to
we
Nishant
think that nobody will
Katneshwarkar,
take
please.
action.
Nishantji, go ahead.
Yeah. See, I would again say there is no necessity of any kind of clarification from the Supreme Court, as this particular paragraph is not applicable for the state of Maharashtra, as there is a policy. Now, some people are saying that there is no answer that why this could not be placed before the court. Now, we should be more concerned about clarification and obviating the confusion in the people. And there is now no necessity or no point in going back to the case that who is responsible, why there was delay. But see, now the government has taken appropriate action. The affidavit has been prepared. Because of 3 days holidays, it could not be filed on Saturday. Now everything will be in order. Tomorrow the state of Maharashtra is filing the affidavit as well as the policy and various guidelines issued subsequently. So now our job should be to clear the confusion from the mind of the people. This is my humble, respectful submission through you.
All right, clear the confusion in the mind of the people for creating this much. Yes, go ahead. Gaurav Bansal, go ahead.
See, if there is a policy, now the next task is that how will you implement the same? As far as the solid waste management is concerned, since the year 2000, we have the policy. In the name of earlier in the name of management and handling rules, now in the name of solid waste management rules. My point is that there is one landfill site, I think in Mumbai, which in the last year I think there was smoke coming out from that landfill site. This was, is it not the failure of the government to work in a letter and a spirit as per the provisions of the solid waste management rules? Is it not the failure of the government that the smoke was coming out from the landfill site? Similarly in Delhi, we have 3 landfill sites, and we should not use it as a we should not term it as a landfill site. These are the dumping sites. So the dumping sites are the great example of how we are the government, the executive are implementing the solid waste management rules. Why there is a smoke coming out from the landfill site? Why the air?
Yes,
Why the Air Pollution Act? There are the many violations of the Air Pollution Act by the government itself. So the question is ki, okay, it's very good, thanks to you that you have a policy, but it is also your job only to go through the same, to act as per the letter and spirit. You are failing in this. This is my point.
That's a good point. Chogle, Mr. Chogle on the phone line from Mumbai. Mr. Chogle, go ahead.
Yes, madam. I want to ask these people sitting there, they are talking about the policy as well as the confusion.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I want to just say one thing. The confusion is there. The first.
Yes, please continue, Mr. Chogle.
The confusion is about, first and foremost, the solid waste is generated while they are making 3 floors below the earth. They are demolishing the old buildings. There is no clear-cut policy and implementation about taking these, what is called generated waste, to a place which we call landfill. And this is, as you know, everywhere, the towers or the mountains like Everest have been raised.
Yes.
So Supreme Court is absolutely correct. Only thing is that Supreme Court doesn't have to explain everything. The people who build, they should know it, and those people who are making the policy, they should implement it correctly.
Yes, we have on the phone line someone from Chandigarh as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I've called up to simply share my joy and happiness at what the Supreme Court has done.
Okay.
And I think they need to come down more and more heavily on issues which concern the cleanliness and health and the environment of citizens. I'm also really happy that the Green Tribunal has been imposing bans in places like Himachal, in Kullu, Mandi and other places, because somehow or the other, I think the administration has not been able to think beyond their nose and take suitable action. So I'm really happy about this, and I hope that the administration and the local governments now take note and take action to sort this out.
Right. Shaina NC, here's the thing. At the end of the day, we did have a dump yard in Mumbai that caught fire and burnt for days. We did have the Bombay High Court pull up the BMC. The Bombay High Court pulled up the Maharashtra government.
Yes.
The Supreme Court says it's taken 2 years. And it has taken 2 years, and there's no sign of a policy. So this is not just one printer in Mantralaya not working. This is not a one-day slip-up. This is something that has been building for a very, very long time. What is the Maharashtra government solution for the dump yard problem?
Firstly, I think that this is not just about a dump yard, Faye. We all know that the kind of waste that comes out of a Mumbai is needed to be treated, and that's what we are trying to do even in Taloja, whether you take the BMC issues, which is to segregate and actually create waste to energy. But I think what your environmentalist said is absolutely correct, that how can we recycle this waste that comes out of construction sites so that it is reused, and we can mobilize a kind of scenario where there is less load on the city, but there is less load on the infrastructure
so what is the plan?
too. So I think there are lots of points that need to be debated conclusively with the professionals in this particular space. As of now, the priority is to lift this ban because we know that tomorrow morning the Maharashtra state government is
forgive me,
going
I
to
have
go
to
in
disagree with
appeal,
you here.
to
The
Supreme
priority is
Court.
not to lift
But
the ban.
important-
We've had 2 years to have discussions with experts on this matter. It's been 2 years since that fire started at the Deonar dump yard. Why are we now the knee-jerk reaction of let's get the ban lifted as quickly as possible? The Supreme Court is not going to accept a plan that doesn't work. What is Mumbai's plan to actually solve the problem? Till date, according to the Chief Minister, approvals given for more than 150 sites of solid waste management plants. Approvals have been given. What is the course of action? How much of this is actually started? How much work have we really done on the ground?
Well, I don't think this is just about one particular site. We need to have multiple places where this waste can be done away with. But if you take Taloja as an example, which is already functional, I think it's a lot of load less for the BMC vis-a-vis their issues. So likewise for construction sites, if you have 160
Taloja doesn't
spots,
have the capacity to handle all of Mumbai's garbage. Rohit Gera, go ahead, please.
Segregated and at the same time reused and recycled.
Rohit Gera, go ahead.
I think can we just clarify, please, that when we talk about solid waste management, it isn't just construction debris. Okay, it covers all kinds of trash, it covers all kinds of garbage. Let's just be very clear. And while I have the floor for a minute, let me also just state that since the Supreme Court has brought their attention onto this really serious problem, which is affecting groundwater, which is affecting our lives on a day-to-day basis, I think we should also take this opportunity and even ask how many of us are indeed segregating our garbage, how many of us are doing recycling at home, because that's all an integral part of solid waste management. I think the government, of course, has to do their bit, But I think as citizens, we all must also do our part. And it's not just construction waste, it's also about our garbage and our trash, which is getting generated in the millions of tons every day.
Right. Mr. Krishnan, go ahead, please.
What I am seeing is that we are discussing only about Maharashtra. Can we also discuss about Madhya Pradesh and Uttarakhand and Chandigarh, which are also burning issues? Like Chandigarh is a very, very modern city, and even that place has got this problem. The basic problem which I look at is that we are not disposing of our municipal waste in a proper manner. That's where the whole problem starts.
See, as far as the construction waste is concerned, my point is that there are the rules, construction and demolition waste rules. So, solid waste management includes the municipal waste. Now, one of the panelists said that we have to do it from the generation source. If in my home I segregate the same, now what is the other step? The next step is that the authorities will mix the same, because there is no segregation at the upper levels. So there is a question where we are, if we do as per the law, the authorities are not acting as per the laws, they are not segregating the same as per the laws, and what they are doing is they are just dumping the same which we have segregated. Yeah, they are dumping the same which they have we have segregated into the dump yards. So the steps has to be come out from the government only.
Yes, in fact, while the Maharashtra government has said that they have a plan, the question is about whether or not that plan will actually work, because that plan involves approvals for a lot of waste management, approvals that have not turned into action yet. Similar cases in most of our cities where dump yards have now grown to the size of the Qutub Minar. In Delhi, for example, where the dump yard causes landslides, where garbage then falls from that massive tower of compost onto human beings. It killed 2 people last year. At the end of the day, it's about accountability, it's about long-term planning and not knee-jerk reactions. We're going to keep a close eye on this, because this is not just about construction, it's also about how we will continue to live and how livable our cities will be in the future. Thanks for watching.